this section. I am so excited to have everybody here today and to have our artists in attendance via Zoom. I would like to thank Bay College's Arts and Culture and also Bay College Diversity Committee. Both of these committees would have helped us, and this event would not be possible without their assistance. So thank you very much. Bay College is extremely supportive of the arts, and I am privileged to work here. Now let's get started. I am going to share with you a little bit of information about the residency. And I will share my screen, just a second. Bear with me here. So this is a celebration of Women's History Month here at Bay College, and the exhibition is called La Femme du Chien, and this phrase was coined by us after we had left the residency. And while we were at the residency, just a little history about this, it was the first time in the residency's history that every single artist in residence was female. So we had this incredible powerhouse event happen for the entire month that we were there. And La Femme du Chien is sort of slang for badass women. And that's kind of how we felt after we were done with the residency. We were so empowered, not only by the ability to make our own work, but the camaraderie and the friendships that were built during the residency. So I want to start out by showing you a little bit. Okay, there we go. So at the point in time that the residency started, I'm sorry, my dog Bob, I'm here with my dog by myself, and he just pushed open the back door, so I must close the back door. So at the point in time that the residency started, there were strikes in France. And so normally we would have taken a train on our own from Paris to Orquevaux, where the residency was. But like I said, we were on strike. So they were on strike. And so we had to kind of find each other at airports or train stations or community places without even knowing who each other were, and then ride share, carpool for a few hours to where the residency was. And so that allowed us, or small groups of us, to really bond pretty immediately.
Nope. Everything that I need, those are the only two things that I noticed.
I don't know if I ever tried the sound.
I didn't try the sound on this, but the sound from the computer is loud enough for me to hear my class.
I'm not sure who that is, but hopefully they're muted. So I was very excited to see the Chateau. This was a dream come true, and had to wait about a year until the residency came up. And I remember this moment. I was in the back seat of the car trying to see all of the views, and we came around the corner and there was the Chateau. And it was the most incredible view. I made them stop and pull over the car so I could get out and take a photograph. And I just sort of teared up. It was just absolutely magical. And so here you can see driving into the Chateau property. This is the stables, and this is this door that you can see in the center there. This was actually my studio while I was at the residency. This is a view from the Chateau. The Chateau has a river that runs through it, and it's dammed on both sides, so it's pretty spectacular water feature. And this is the small village of Orquevaux. We had the opportunity to meander around the village, go on hikes. The community was pretty curious about all the artists that come, but always very friendly. This is my first entrance into the dining area at the Chateau. They had numerous amounts of cheeses for us to try and fruits. It was always really wonderful. This is our first evening, kind of the sun setting and the light coming from the Chateau. It was really just spectacular. I can't say enough how lovely it was and inspiring. I'm going to admit a couple people. This right here was what they had prepared for us for our first evening at the Chateau. And you can see the CO is for Chateau Orquevaux. We had an incredible chef, Maria, and she would prepare large meals with dessert every evening. And then we could have the leftovers the next day. And this was a really wonderful thing with the residency, because as artists, we didn't have to worry about preparing food or taking time away from our work. And I thought that was a really added bonus. This is Tatiana. Tatiana works at the residency, and she's explaining all of the food that we're getting ready to enjoy for our first evening feast. Here you can see Kat, and Serena is another artist in residence, Tatiana again. And then this is Ziggy Ates. He is the director of the residency. And Orquevaux is in the Champagne region, and so we were very lucky to be able to toast real champagne that evening. Here is a final evening shot, and then this is a morning shot, and that color lavender is absolutely true. It was that beautiful my first morning there. So every morning I would go out and take about an hour walk and then come back, either stop in my studio and do some work before 9:30. At 9:30 we would all meet, or a majority of us would meet in the kitchen for a little kitchen talk. At the residency, there were goats and chickens. It was always quite fun to go and see them in the morning. This is the old sign for Orquevaux. It is right in the entrance to the village. This is Anastasia Lafayette. She was an artist that spoke on Tuesday. This is some of her work at the residency. She's installing a permanent installation on the island that is right in front of the Chateau. This is Arushi in her studio. Arushi is an ephemeral artist, and she spoke on Tuesday as well. This is some of her work in her studio. This is Cecilia. She spoke on Tuesday as well. This is her studio. And she had a lot going on in there all the time. It was just packed full of really interesting things. And this is during our art critiques. So I just wanted to show you a few photos of while I was taking my hikes. This is on the grounds there at the Chateau. Behind the Chateau, there's a huge sort of hill. And so you can hike up this very steep hill, and there's a plateau on the top. The fog and the moss, everything was just so spectacular and inspiring. Just dreamy. We also were able to go on a lot of hikes together. This right here is a hike that we took to the source. So the source of water for that river that runs in front of the Chateau, and it is called Cul de Surf, which we were told it's sort of the asshole of a deer, or the butt of a deer, more the asshole of a deer. But it was such a beautiful place and such a strange name. We had a lot of really wonderful evening gatherings together that solidified our community. This right here is in the kitchen, and we're toasting on an evening. Elise will be speaking later. She also would hold us up and allow, she would do henna for us, and it was just absolutely beautiful. This is Elise and Benedict, and you can see on Benedict's hand the henna that Elise did. And Elise was very gracious and did this for everybody. All right, now I'd like to introduce Kat Finch to you. She was born in New York City and raised on Long Island. She focuses on drawing and printmaking, mainly photolithography, stone lithography, and wood engraving. She received her BFA in printmaking with a minor in illustration in 2011 at the University of Hartford in West Hartford, Connecticut, and received her MFA in printmaking in 2014 at Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta, Georgia. She also completed a 1-month residency at Cala Art Institute in Berkeley, California in 2018, and a 1-month residency at the Chateau. She was also awarded the Denise Diderot Grant, and her work has appeared in many juried and group exhibitions in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California, Wisconsin, Georgia, Colorado, Texas, Rhode Island, Italy, as well as online exhibitions. Her work mainly focuses on capturing the often unrealized beauty in common objects, scenes at certain moments in time to hold on to and create experiences within a piece of artwork. Kathleen is currently living and working in New York. I'd like to introduce you to Kathleen. This is some of her work that she did well at the Chateau. This is in her studio, and this is a close-up of that drawing. I'm going to stop sharing right now. And Kathleen, I invite you to share your screen. Welcome for Women's History Month.
Thank you. Let me see if I could do this correctly. Okay, I've never done this before.
Okay, so if you look down, there is a green, like, illuminated square, and it says share screen.
Yes.
And then you click on that, and then you can see, maybe it's your PowerPoint that you want to pick, or you can pick your desktop, so then you can move through different things that you might have on your desktop.
Oh, okay,
Got it?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
What?
It says that I need to, oh my God. It says I need to update. Oh my gosh.
What do you have to update?
I update my computer.
No.
Okay, hold on. I think this will work. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I got it.
There it goes. Yes.
Wow. Okay, I'm so not a technological person. This is why I still stay in the printmaking life, because it's all old-fashioned traditional stuff. But thank you for that introduction. I apologize if this presentation is a little long. I didn't really know what to do. I don't really do artist talk, so just bear with me. Let me go to, all right, so welcome. This is one of my drawings that I've done, just to introduce myself again. So since there's a pandemic, a lot of print shops have closed, or well, I also now live on Long Island, so I don't have a easily access to community print shops. So I've just been stuck, not really stuck. I've just chosen to stay at home and do drawing instead of going to print shops and using their facilities. So going all the way back to my undergrad, I started off So again, I'm from Long Island, so I grew up around water and everything. And when I was in college, I didn't really know what to do with art. And I was like, oh, I would just get projects, complete them for what we were supposed to do. I started out as an illustration major, so I was just stuck, here's an interesting project, figure out what you want to do with it, doing characters and stuff like that. So I never had the opportunity to just like go out on my own and figure out just what kind of subject matter I wanted to work on. So I did an independent study one summer with one of my favorite teachers, and she just told me just come in one day with a drawing. Doesn't matter what it was or where it came from. So I was like, all right, cool. So I was at the beach because Long Island's surrounded by water, so I pretty much live at the beach. And I found I was just walking along the coast, and I guess there were these crazy like images and shapes that were coming out from the way that the waves crashed and how it settled. So I was like, this is very interesting. So let me just take some photos of that and try to recreate it. So then I just fell in love with water and the way that it moves. So my senior year of college, I started really getting into the water aspect and just going full force with it. Cause I had, senior year, I got to get your thesis and everything together. So I was running out of time. So I actually studied in Italy my senior year, for my fall semester. And so this is the project that I worked on the whole time while I was there. Again, living on Long Island, just took a million photos. And I kind of just found this kind of series. It's called Wave Cycle. Just see how the world works and the way gravity works. And, you have the calm, the building up to the wave, the crashing, the settling. And again, it just starts all over again. So it's just, I find it just so interesting how water works. So I just started with this and kept going. So you see this first image, I went off of that and try to incorporate color. So I came back, had to, complete the rest of my senior year, just figuring out color, just drawing, not even working with photos, whatever, and just seeing how it goes. So I liked how you got two different colors, it's a two plate etching, and seeing how you could find the movement, the overlapping of colors, and it's kind of I liked it a lot. So kind of this is how it, like pretty much just kept going with it. So with etching was originally like my focus when I was in college, and then I learned lithography, and lithography became my new love because it's pretty much just drawing. So again, taking a million photos, going to the beach all the time, finding whatever I liked and all the shapes. So again, sometimes the images that I take, you don't really realize that it's water. So I was like, this is very interesting. There's so many different shapes and images and random scenes that like nobody knows what it is. And it doesn't have to be anything like in specific, like particular. So I was like, there's lots going on and anybody can just take what they want from it. So I started kind of going in this route of it is water, but it also doesn't have to be water if you don't want to take it as water. So so this was a stone lithography. And so it's black and white. And then this was a color lithograph. So I think it was 3 different plates. So and these were all drawn plates. So it's blue, I guess it was like a blue, gray, and like a pink. Cause I guess remember this was during sunset. I like the images, like the way that, cause this was not even the ocean, this was a lake. So the way that I found different was all different types of water move in very different ways. So this one has like more of a smooth, calming way of moving compared to like a very crashing, like abrupt, crazy like shapes with the ocean. And then, so this was just some of my undergrad work. After undergrad, I took a year off and I just kind of like, I know I'm sure like all students, you leave college and you're just like, all right, I don't have any assignments, so I'm not going to do anything. So that was what I did. But I liked the way certain like textures were. So I kind of just went in a different route of I saw sand and I was like, this is very interesting. And they were, instead of just an organic way of being created, like from like the world and the environment, again, this was made from the environment, but this was made with a human touch. So it kind of like gave her a different type of conversation within, because I think this was called Where Are You Going? Because again, people are going everywhere and everybody has their own different story. So I found that kind of interesting. So this is kind of one of my only non like water pieces, but it kind of comes into like, it relates to all my other pieces because again, you don't really know what it is until like you're told what it is because it's sand, but I feel like at first glance you might not know what it is. It could, I don't really know what people might think it is, but so from there I went to grad school, went to Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta, and in Atlanta, joke's on me, it's landlocked. So I had to improvise and find different ways of water and finding water. So the great thing about Atlanta is every apartment complex has a pool. So I pretty much lived at the pool. At night, the lights that would come through the pool water, because you have the blue pool water, you have your feet, you have all these different colored lights. I would try to play around with the way that the pool water moves, because again, all water moves differently. This one is a lot like softer, but has crisp edges. It's very, I don't know, it's very weird. And then using the color. So this, I think the next two are a color reduction stone lithograph. So I would start with one like complete drawing. I think I started with the dark blue and then do one whole drawing, and then I would go back and scratch away some areas. So then you can see where some color would come through, and then there's a lot of white areas. But it was kind of interesting because again, like there's so many different ways you can go about this. Because then, oh wait, oh no, okay. So that was my only color reduction that I have here. But this was kind of when I went to grad school, I was just like, I don't really know what to do, and I'm gonna keep doing water, but I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life and where am I going? And so I was doing a lot of experimentation with all these types of color stone lithographs. And then went on to take a lithography class. And this was really fun. So this image is part drawing, part photograph. My intention was to show the difference between the photograph and the drawing, but you can't really tell. So the bottom area is drawn and the top area is the photograph. So a lot of my artwork is about taking a closer look into these pieces to show that there is a hand in the piece. So if you see it up close, you can see a lot of mark making, because that's a lot of, because again, so water has a lot of detail, and the way that I make myself crazy is by making sure I get every single little detail. So it's making you take a second glance and seeing what else is going on within the piece itself, instead of just being like, oh, this is water, cool, next piece. There's other things that you can determine and unveil within these pieces itself and create your own piece for yourself. So here's another photolithograph. This is actually a 3-plate color lithograph. It's 2 plates are drawn and the 3rd plate is photograph, which is the dark blue plate is photograph, and then I have the red and the green plate, which are drawn. So again, it's supposed to make you take a second to take a closer look and see what else is going on within the piece itself. Again, this is actually taken from my pool, and that's my foot. So it's supposed to show you that there is a hand in making this piece of work instead of just a photograph. When you look at it like from a distance, you kind of think it's just a photograph, but again, I'm all about making sure that you have to take the time through every single little detail and show that there is time put in this, and it's not just taken for granted and it's just like, all right, here's an image that I took and I printed it. No, there are hundreds and hundreds of hours put into this. So here's another photolithograph. This one definitely gave me a lot of issues when printing. That's the beauty of printmaking. Lots of love-hate relationships. But again, the dark blue plate is actually not as prevalent in this piece, but the green and the red are, I guess, more drawn, which I actually like better. But usually the dark plate kind of grounds it and brings it all together. But let's see. All right, so then I went from these photolithographs into these photogravures. So again, it's taking the time and trying to capture every single detail. So I try to do, so this left plate over here is done with white ground on an etching plate. So it's pretty much like a soap texture. And the great thing about this is when you do water things, it makes a great wave. So I love the texture and the tactility of these surfaces. And I was like, let me try to copy it and make a photogravure out of it. So honestly, the only part that's exactly lined up is this bottom little corner. And then it kind of just like kind of flourishes into its own little world. But again, like I'm copying it, I'm drawing it straight from this image and seeing how close I can get it to be this and be as photorealistic as I can, but at the same time it's not. And each piece has its own story, because it's like this was made with just a brush and a white ground, and then this, and it took maybe like 10, not even like 5 minutes. And this, the right side, the photogravure, took maybe about 150 hours. So it just shows like, it's very, I found it very interesting. It's just like, all right, just like a photograph, you take a photograph, but then you can like spend hundreds of hours of just recreating it and seeing what else you can find within that piece itself. And there's so many different stories that you can create or find or determine behind just what's on the surface. So I started with this, and then I started to add color and kind of connect the two with the color, which I liked. It was a lot of fun trying to figure out the right colors to create. So the photograph's not the best, but it's kind of like a brown and a blue. And then these next two images are horrible photographs, but I never took a good photograph of this. It was my fault. But same kind of concept, but this was, I think, some kind of touche ink on Mylar, and then I did a photolithograph. So I think this right side is the touche photolithograph, and then I redrew it and then made another photolithograph and then try to connect the two. So again, this bottom area is the only part that is actually completely exactly correct. And then it kind of just flourished into its own little world of a story. And then I try to add color. Again, this is an awful photograph, but just try to keep it going. And then I love my detail. I love my very meticulous processes. So I started doing wood engravings and mesotints. So this is a mesotint. I love the velvety blackness that you can create and the very bright white. So this is, again, if I didn't tell you, I feel like nobody would know what this is. It's my feet swirling in a lake water going on. So another mesotint. So I guess this is a crashing wave. And then went into wood engraving. So I took another independent study. Loved the way that the lines create all of the sense of depth of water. And this piece, I think, is only 4 by 6 inches, but it took, I want to say, like 70 hours. So again, I'm a very detail oriented person. So it's like, I got to make sure everything is correct and got every single detail, and see the way that you can create these lines to make all the different like ridges and little tiny waves. And then, okay, so I went from here to another lithograph, and this kind of led me down a different direction of, so again, this is water. Again, Atlanta's landlocked. So I went into, I have all these old sheet musics that are so beautiful and delicate. And I was like, let me try to incorporate them. So I try to get try to find the connection between water and sound, and the way that the vibrations create the concentric circles within water. So found a pond, made some ripples, took a photo, and then shinkolayed the sheet music on top of my stone litho. So I created this, and then just like water, music is always changing. So this is great because this is a stone lithograph. So the great thing about stone lithograph is you can erase. So this is a series of 3. So with each piece, it's a different music, and it's a different drawing. So I would erase parts of the original drawing and recreate new ripples, take a new piece of sheet music, and then shinkolay that on top. And then this was the last one. And then, so from here, I love the delicateness of the old sheet music. So I went into, I found, when my grandparents passed away, we found all these old letters. So again, these are also my grandmother's sheet music. So I was like, let me keep on incorporating her life into my artwork. So my grandfather was in World War II. They met, I guess, right before he went off to boot camp. So I found it very interesting, took some of their letters and created some prints out of them. So this letter is about the day my grandfather was at boot camp. She sent him a letter telling him that she was pregnant with my aunt. So that was kind of interesting. So it's interesting because the top letter is just her telling him and the bottom is his reaction. And then I created some artist books about it. So this one is about their wedding day, and it's all about him trying to get a furlough to come home for 6 days, which was very interesting. And the language that is used within all these letters it's just like so sweet and so like things you do not hear anymore. It's all about like, oh gosh, and golly, and oh dear. And it's like, oh my God, this is so lovely. So I took pieces of the letters, and on the back of each of these flaps are some of the letters or just little excerpts. And he did get furloughed, obviously, and had their wedding. And then, so this is when it's open and closed. And then the back, so that's 50 years later, it's our family reunion. And then this is an awful photo. I don't have a better one, but another image. So I took my wood engraving, and because I was like, let me find connection between these letters and my water drawings. And so this is when he's actually in, I think, I want to say Germany or actually France. I forget where, but this is her experience of having my aunt and his reaction. So it's very interesting because it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a whole different time. So I try to find the connection between the water and these letters, and that's kind of how I kind of put it together. So I haven't been able to keep working on these letter projects, but I have lots of ideas. So from there, I started doing drawings. So with drawings, this is pretty much what I've been mainly doing now, are all drawings. But I'll take, hundreds and hundreds of photos, and out of the hundreds and hundreds, I'll find one that I'm like, this is it. Or I have to go back and forth between two very similar ones. I'm just like, I don't know. But so this is one of my first drawings that I did when I was in grad school. I found like a whole new niche that I didn't know I had, and I just kind of ran with it. So again, just like with printmaking, it's just like you find all these different like details and random scenes and things that you would never find, that unless you like take a second look at it. So this is actually not the best photo, but this is actually a waterfall. So same take, I just find any type of water and I'm like, it's gonna go with it. I'll take rivers, ponds, see whatever kind of movement it gets and find the right kind of image that I like, or the way that like it just speaks to me. Here's another. And then, so after grad school, I kind of took some time off from actually doing artwork because I was like, I need to get a job. So got a new job at a printmaking, a print shop. Wow. We were kind of pretty much printing for professional artists, learned a lot, got to do an edition for El Anatsui, which was pretty awesome. And did a 250 edition for Gabriel Orozco, which was very intense. But between the time that I finished grad school and my professional experience, I learned a lot. I met a lot of people and kind of like got to where I am today. So I still talk to everybody that I've usually have worked with. And then I also worked for Jeff Koons, but I feel like I just have to tell that. Worked on a whole big series of paintings for him. I worked there for about 4 years. If you want to know more, I could tell you on the side of how awful he is. But all these paintings, they're all done in sections. It's a very interesting process. So like I could definitely talk more about that, but I don't want to keep everybody here for too long because I think I put too many slides in this thing. So he took old master paintings and we pretty much recreated them into like whatever sizes he wanted to. It's all done in a stenciling process. So think of screen printing, but with oil paint. And I did most of the shelves down here, which was a pain in my ass. But, and apparently, so funny story, this shelf was messed up the day before the show went up and I had to spend 12 hours recreating it. And it literally left my hands and put back on the painting it into the gallery, which was very interesting. But, so here's some, I guess, working shots. So the shelf, you know, pretty much just the tiniest little detail, but you know, I gotta make it exact. So, and here's just an example of the amount of colors that go into one section alone. And each color is individually mixed for every section, which is very intense. But so, and then here's like a map of what the paintings would look like to set up with the stenciling pieces, and then first underpainting, and then it goes into the stenciling area. Here's another painting, and then here's some close-ups of, because he wanted to do it just exactly as the original painting, so he would get high resolution images from, I guess, the museums or collectors, whoever owned the paintings, and he would add in the textures of the canvases, which was kind of interesting. And then here's a studio shot. And then from there, I went to CALA Art Institute. I was accepted into CALA, which was so exciting because I guess I feel like with art, it's very much always getting rejected, except for that one person, that one institute or that one application that you forgot about and you got accepted. So you're like, oh my God, it's working. So I feel like this is where like I kind of turned a corner and I got out of like my art rut where I wasn't making anything for like maybe 2 to 3 years. And then I was like, So went to CALA. I toured around Northern California for a little bit. And from there, I took a million photos. So I started here and I was like, I'm just going to live in the litho area because I was like, this I know I don't need help with, I'm good. So I started with this image, and I think the next few slides I think is more just progress shots of how long and intense it takes me to actually finish a piece. But I was like, I'm only here for a month, so I need to actually get going with this and get as much as I can while I'm here because I'm only there for a month. And when I come back, I have to go back to work. So I started here. Here's just a small progress shot. I think these pieces are only like 10 by 13. So again, I only start in like the little corner and then it kind of just like flourishes into its own little like image itself. So it's kind of a photorealistic piece, but also not in a way. That makes sense. Here's just a detail close up. And then, so this piece gave me a lot of issues. This is the good one. And then with printmaking, again, always issues. The stone just rebelled against me and just started filling in and hating my life. So spent maybe, a good like 80 hours on this and it's just all gone to hell. But this was one of the good pieces. From there, I guess I don't have it, but I kept printing the bad ones and I went back in this year to kind of revive them and just go back in with pencil and see what, I think there's another image later that comes up. And then I started, there was something weird with the stone, so wasn't work for me, but this was an image I took when I was in Peru, but again, I was like, I have a million photos of water, so let me just see so many details, so many things that are going on. This is the one that I took. This is this. And then I went back with pencil and kind of try to revive it. So I got this one. And then I was like, let me go back with color. So I did, color reduction. So here's just some progress. And then there was something weird going down here. So I just kind of had to live with it. And then here is the final product. And then I was like, here for 1 more week. So let me get this wood engraving done. So again, I was like, I'm here. I got to use all the resources I can, try to, fill up all my time with everything that I can while I'm here. So I tried to travel while I was there. I experienced a lot. I went to all of the beaches. And then I also went to Alcatraz. So when I came back from Cala, I was asked to be an artist, like a visiting artist at SCAD. So I was there to make another photo lithographed while I was there. So I took this photo when I was in Alcatraz, and I was like, there's a lot of detail, a lot of color. This is great. And so this is kind of the process of, I had to take, it was a 3-color photo lithograph. So I had to draw twice, and then the third was the photograph. So these drawings took maybe 50, 60 hours. So the only good thing about this was everything needs to be all lined up. So I kind of got to trace it, which was great. So just some progress shots of these, and there's Winnie and she's my little helper. And this was the final drawing on Mylar, because then it gets exposed to be a photolithograph. And then these are my 3 plates. So this one is actually the photograph. And I think this would be a red plate and then the green plate. And these are all my test colors and all of the test runs of which kind of combination I like the best, because printmaking is great. You can just do whatever colors you want and do as many as you want and figure it out, instead of just having it once. So here's some progress, and then this is the final image, the final drawing, I think. Yes, sorry. Yes, final print. So again, it's photograph, it's drawing. It's supposed to invite you in to see and to look at it closer and see what's going on within the piece itself. So from there, I kind of stopped doing printmaking. I'm definitely not against printmaking. I just haven't had the chance to go to a print shop and actually do more printmaking. So now I'm just stuck with drawing, which is great. So drawing, with these progress shots, it's kind of just like each section has taken it's like usually like 2 to 3 hours. So this one I took from a boat. It's the images that you get from the manipulation of a boat against the water. I find it so interesting, and there's so many detail and so many stories that you can take from that and see what's going on. So here's just the progression of these drawings taking forever and making me crazy. And then here is the final. So this one is just like, you have all of this imagery happening within this piece, and it's just like, oh my god. And everybody always tells me all these different things that they see, and it's like, I was like, yeah, it's actually water. They're like, oh my gosh. I was like, yep. They're like, it looks like very Renaissance style. There's a random ghost or random stuff. And I'm like, you know what, whatever you want to see is what you get. So the next piece, so this is the image for the next piece, which is actually what I started when I was when I was at the Chateau. Again, taking a million photos and just finding the ones that I like the best with the weirdest detail or something. There's always something there that I'm just like, I want this one just because of this piece. So this was this for me. I was like, I need to draw that. So here's the beginning, some progress shots. And there's the end. And then, so from when I was in France, I had a very unfortunate situation where before I went to Orquevaux, I toured around Paris and Normandy for a little bit, so my grandfather was in Normandy during World War II. So I was like, I have to go and experience it and see it. So I took a million photos. I was planning on, drawing all of the images from the D-Day beaches while I was there. And all of my images were taken away from me because my hotel room was broken into. So I lost all of my photos, but I had a few on my phone, so I got to actually salvage those. So this was from these, so a little bit smaller, but again, like water works in different ways everywhere you go. So it's not like where I live now, where the waves are huge, they're very small. All different layers. So these are actually 2 different pieces. So there's a little break right here. Just to see, there's so much similarities within these pieces, but there's also so much difference. But which I find I was just very intrigued by. Just wanted to keep it going. And then there's me. It was very exciting because I got 3 pieces done within a month, which is very unheard of. And then here's one last piece from, I started while I was there, but never finished it. So this is another piece from Omaha Beach, which is I love so much. There's so much different layers to this piece, literally and figuratively. Lots of detail. And then, so from there, quarantine happened. So I was like, I have all this time to work on all of my artwork. So all these are progress shots. And let's see, started going. And then, so again, like, I think I went back in time and I took some images that I got from California, and I just, so like, water works in so many different ways, and just finding the details that you can get out of it is just like so amazing to me, and how each piece is so different. So, and then this is again from California. So this is the actual image, and then I don't have a lot of progress shots from here. And then here's the ending. And then I went to Maine. Again, water works in so many ways. So this was a lot different than some of the pieces that I did this past year, which I really liked. And then some drawing. So I've just been stuck in the drawing phase for now. And then this one's actually at your, oh wait, these 2 are actually at your school right now. This one actually has a cookie stain, if you could find it. I'm not gonna tell you where it is. But you know, all these pieces take about, I think this one took maybe 50 hours, but the one from Maine, I wanna say like 100, 110 hours. And then this is what I'm working on now, which I'm actually timing myself, so I actually have an exact number of hours, but I think I'm at 25, 30 hours at this for right now. But yeah, so this was my artwork. Sorry if this was really long. Thanks for bearing with me. But yeah, it's just, I think most of my artwork is just very much about taking a closer look, taking a look at it and seeing what else is going on within the piece, instead of just looking at it and walking away. So, but yeah, I don't really know if you have any questions or whatever.
Thanks, Kat. You know what we're gonna do is we're gonna wait until the end so that everybody can, we'll do a little Q&A at the end. But thank you so much. That was so beautiful. And I was thinking maybe at the end, if you can explain maybe a little more detail of printmaking for those who don't understand what printmaking is.
Of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move forward here. Let me see. Oh, I am going to share my screen again. And introduce to. Oh. Okay, so there is one of Kat's at the residency. And here we have Kathleen Hurley Liao. She is the next artist that will be speaking. She is a mixed media abstract artist who incorporates automatism and expressionism in her work, a graduate of Barnard College, Columbia University with a degree in anthropology. The marks, forms, and rhythms of her art offer points of connection for viewers of diverse perspectives and cultures. She's particularly inspired by harmonies, dissonances, and resolutions of jazz and themes of existential literature. Hurley Liao is the recipient of the Outstanding West Windsor Artist Award from West Windsor Arts Council and 2 Best in Show Printmaking Awards from Trenton City Museum. In 2020, she spent a month in France with us, and her artwork may be found at the James E. Lewis Museum collection of Lawrence Hilton, as well as in private collections in a wide range of locales. which include New York City, Chile, France, and she maintains a studio in Hightstown, New Jersey. These are a couple photos that I took. We had open studios the second week of the residency, and you can see she's getting ready to play a little jazz music for us. She's really inspired by the music, and so it was fun to have this happening during the studio visit. And these are a couple shots of works in progress in her studio. She's giving a little talk telling us about her work and her process. And you can see there's discussion. There's Kat right there with Kathleen. And I really enjoyed this because of the jazz music, and I love the layers of the shadows in the studio. So I will go back, stop share. So Kathleen, I'd like to invite you to start your presentation.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. First, thank you so much, Kristine, for I guess herding cats was what somebody said, herding all of us together and creating this amazing experience, an extension of our original experience in the Chateau. I'm going to try to share my screen. It's the first time for me as well doing this. My assistant daughter is down the hall, so she'll help me if it doesn't work out.
And I can help you too.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah. So you see that green button that says share screen?
Yeah, I did that. Share your screen. I'm going to go to, is this it?
So you can pick the one that is like your desktop, or you can pick your PowerPoint.
Can you see this yet?
You might have to pick it, and then in the bottom right-hand side, it says share.
Okay, you don't see the screen right now.
No.
Darn. All right. Well, I see it. All right, hang on a second. Let me get out of here.
So if you click on that, and then there should be different options that come up, and if you see the blue highlighted, that's what it'll be.
Okay, let me get out of this. I can't get back. Nope. Okay, I am back. Let's see. I'm going to share. Okay.
And then you see how it's blue highlighted? So you can
pick
when you want to choose.
My goodness. Oh, now can you see it?
Yep, that's great.
Sorry about that. Okay, can you still see it now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thank you. All right. So since this is Women's History Month, and this is about a group of women, badass women, les femmes du Chien, I've included this piece here called Blue Lady, who is on her way to something. I'm not sure what. This piece introduces one of my many processes in making work. I am exploring themes of construction, deconstruction, reconstruction, and I have many methods of working, but I'm going to focus on that for this presentation. For this piece started out as some kind of collage on canvas, which I ended up ripping off, deconstructing, and then the blur that was left kind of reminded me of a woman. So part of my process is kind of letting go and allowing whatever happens, happens, and following the direction of the work rather than having it follow my direction. All right, so I will see if I can get to my studio. Okay, here's my studio in the Chateau, which you also saw, thanks to Kristine. Here's the entrance, and what's interesting about this chateau, it is just full of so much history, not only of all the artists that have been there and of all the other people who have stayed there. I think it was formerly a hunting lodge. It was also occupied by the Nazis in the during World War II. And you can still see their chalk marks here on the doors on the 3rd floor. They'll say things, one of them says map room. I don't know what mine says, but it's scratched in here. But what's interesting is the energy in this chateau was so positive that and so many wonderful things were created. It took me by surprise that there was not any kind of lingering haunty feeling. There was nothing like that at all. Anyway, so one of the things I experimented with at the chateau was putting paper on wall, putting large papers on wall. And so I continued to do this in my studio in Heightstown. So that's how this was created. This is a large piece of Yupo I managed to get up on my wall. And I started scraping and marking and peeling away at papers until this arrived. I think I'm inspired by rhythm, so that's part of my process. I actually move around a lot while I work. But sometimes I am on the floor building things. I just included this to show more of a range of my work. Restoration Wreath was made for a magazine. I was asked to submit a holiday wreath for the Princeton magazine issue. And I'm like, I don't do wreaths, but here's what I can do. And it was published. There were wreaths with flowers and things like that. But it was an artistic spread, so this was in there. This is another part of a larger piece. It started out very large, like Cherry's Jubilee did. Cherry's Jubilee remained large, but this one I just wasn't satisfied with. I probably should have been, but I wasn't. So as often as my process carries through, I ended up cutting this large piece into 3 pieces, and then that wasn't quite right. So I kept cutting it more and more until I was on the floor, and then I rebuilt it. And it's hard for me to explain my process because part of it is getting into that area where the conscious and the subconscious meld. And I can't quite remember how I arrived at this, but as you can see, it also involved a lot of scraping and mark making and layering, I guess I'll say. The next this is done at the Chateau. And this was a beginning of this further journey to the construction and deconstruction. I was just on the floor putting this together. Then it was on the wall and I was working on it. And one of the wonderful things about being in this particular group of women was that they came in my studio, and this was one of the smallest pieces in there, but they gravitated toward this and were very encouraging. So I'll just go on. And so after I came back from the studio, I kind of explored that more. This is a small canvas, and it's called Labor with Your Soul, which I wasn't trying to say directly when I didn't have that idea in my mind when I put this together, but it happens to have a piece of literature on there. I think it's from Hamlet. It was from an old falling apart copy of Shakespearean plays, and it just happens to have that phrase on it. And it was very apt because I put a lot of energy into this work, as you can see. This is one that's in the exhibit at Bay College, Escape Route, made during the COVID era. And not only does this involve layering and painting, and there's actually cutting, but I left pieces on. And as the forms emerge, like I said, with the Blue Lady, I just allow that to happen. And it's taken a while for me to get to that point. Sometimes you resist and want to make it something else. This one is called 4 a.m. because that's when I finished it. I was up all night. I often work in the late evening, although I couldn't at the Chateau, but it all worked out because it's just quieter and things happen. I have incorporated some rib bone here that I bleached after. It's pork rib bone. Okay, not human. And this is many layered. I took it on. I wasn't satisfied, scraped it off. I didn't know what was happening. This is actually a smaller canvas on top of a canvas. I found this button in my studio. I stuck it on, and then the face emerged. And it's probably what I looked like at that time. There's another one. This was a little earlier, but also more construction, broken heart surgery, in which I incorporated iodine, medical tape, steel mesh, staples, things that I associated with surgery. And it emerged. I went with it. That's how I work. Here's one that's more reductive. I call it Japanese Juju. I did spend a year in Japan back in the 80s teaching English, and that experience always stayed with me. Another late night piece. I was layering, overlayering, and I just was giving up, ripping it off. And when this happened, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is it. And I thanked the piece, I said, thank you. And sometimes things emerge that are reflective of the energy around us. This is the United Fates of America. I did not plan for this kind of abstract flag to emerge, but one could not help being but affected by the tumult occurring in our country during this period in the last couple of years. And just one thing I wanted to point out in this is sometimes I'll come across little forms within the abstract piece, and often I'll bring them out, and sometimes I'll leave them more vague like this, but I'm always surprised by the end result of my work. I feel like there's more than myself making this piece. There's something else that has a hand in it. So I'm collaborating with the universe, I suppose. This one, I'm kind of wrapping it up now. This is called Animal and was created in the Chateau. It has to do, for me, it has to do with strength of a core spirit, of a woman's spirit, but of anyone's spirit. And it's just has a rhythm of life in it. And that's just what I saw in it. But all my works I leave open to interpretation, which is one of the reasons I'm inspired by jazz and existentialist literature. It's a reflection on mankind. It's a comment, but it's open. It's open-ended, and it's full of the unexpected. And here's a piece started out, yes, as an abstract, just gestures, but I feel that it captured the energy of our experience, and I just called it Electric Chateau. This is pretty much where our studios were here. The place was full of light and love and energy. So this is just what happened. It became a structure. And I think that is it for now. And I'm going to try to get out of this and get back to you. Did it work?
If you hit escape, maybe that should help.
I did. I see you, but you don't see me. Oh, here, I'll do stop share.
Yep, there you go. Great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you. I am not sure. I'm trying to see if Elise is here. I don't know if she is. I did try to reach out to her. She is out in California, I think, right now. So what I'll do is I'm going to introduce her, and then I'll just show you a few images of her that I have included in the PowerPoint. So Elise is a self-taught artist from San Jose, California, and she's always loved to draw. But she only began recently to pursue her career as a full-time artist. She's also a rock climber and a lover of the outdoors. And she has a passion for nature and wildlife and has been the main source of her inspiration for her drawings. Because of rock climbing, she has been and seen many wild places that few have experienced, and she tries to place that in her artwork. She tries to convey the sense of awe and wonder that she feels when experiencing a new landscape or seeing a new animal. The outdoors and art became linked permanently for her in September of 2012 when she fell off an 80-foot cliff in a hiking accident. She broke her spine in several places, shattered her pelvis, and collapsed a lung, among other injuries, and was consequently wheelchair bound. And she was told at that time that she would never walk again. And for somebody as active as she was, that was a devastating and very intense time. Because hiking and climbing were out of reach, she clung to art, and she developed or redeveloped a passion for drawing with an intensity that she had never had before. So although she couldn't move her legs and the mountains were far away, she lived vicariously through the illustrations, untamed wilderness and wildlife. And as much as her art allowed her to drift away from the immobilized world that she was in, it also fueled a fire in her to walk among the mountains once more. Now, 8 years after her accident, she is a full-time artist and she hikes and climbs as often as she can. And recently this year, she also got a van and she's been traveling around and drawing from the road. So it's been super wonderful to see. She's never taken in a art class. She is entirely self-taught. And she's been searching and realizing her own artistic style has been a lifelong journey, and she's continuously developing that. Her goal as an artist is to travel the world and create art in exotic and unique locations while drawing attention to the need to conserve and protect our natural environments. So I'm just going to share my screen. So this is Elise during our second week studio tours. And here she is showing us some of the ink or the materials that she uses at that time. So this is a micro pen. So most of her drawings, which you can see with great detail, are done with these very tiny micro pens. Here is some of the work that she was working on while she was at the Chateau. So she works on multiple projects at one time or multiple pieces at one time, shifting in between those pieces to kind of move forward. And this centerpiece right here was a gift that she gave to the Chateau. And so you can see here's a goat in the center, if you can see that. We were all inspired by the goats. It was pretty fun. Here we are. You can see Kathleen critiquing the work. And then this is Gabby. She is an artist that'll be presenting next week. This is a close-up detail of one of the works that Elise was working on at that time. You can see the tiny etch marks that come from the micro pen, and then I think that she also uses an ink wash or watercolor with that. So I will stop that share. I'm not sure if Elise has shown up yet. Has she? I don't think so. But maybe we can get her in next time. But I would like to open up time for Q&A. And here we did see some questions earlier. And Che, you said that your questions were answered. But maybe we can have Kat go into the printmaking process a little bit more. And then we'll just open it up for Q&A. And if you want to type a question and you want me to ask that, I can ask that. Or feel free to jump in with a question. Okay, Kat, do you feel like sharing a little of your printmaking, just so they can understand that a little bit more?
Sure. I will talk mostly about stone lithography because that's my thing that I do the most. So with lithography, it's the materials based. I usually do stone, so it's like a big limestone that you get like quarries at the bottom of the earth. It's interesting because sometimes there's fossils kind of hidden in there. But these, you could also use aluminum plates. So the surfaces are made up of microscopic hills and valleys. So these valleys are attracted to grease. So usually I will just draw with a grease pencil, just like I would like a piece of paper. There's a lot of different materials you can use. There's like washes, like touche, which is like kind of like, it looks like a gouache type of, method you can use. I never use any of the other things, so I can't remember all the other materials. I know people have done a lot of like, they'll put like their fried chicken on or like really greasy like barbecue on stones and see like what would happen. So like there's a lot of experimentation you can do with these things. So once like usually with me, like I'll draw my my image, and then it's a whole process of you have to process it by making an acid mixture with gum arabic. Depending on the dark areas, the light areas, because sometimes if you put a very like potent acid mixture on a dark area, it could burn it out. So then you lose that dark area, and then the stone like forgets that it's there. So it's all about the stone remembering where the image is. So the acid mixture will help the stone like grab onto the grease and remember where it is. So with that, you do your whole mixture, you kind of pretty much put it all over the stone, and then you process it, and then you kind of roll it up with ink, and you see where the stone remembers where the image is. So if you do it all correctly, it should all be there. But I've had many mishaps where it all just goes to hell. But that's the beauty of printmaking, right? But there's also a lot of happy accidents, which is great. So with that, once you kind of like roll it up with the black ink, you can then print it with usually black ink, but if you want to do color, and then you put it through a press, and then you get multiples of it. And then depending if you're doing just black and white or with stone, again, like I was doing my color reduction. So I don't know if anybody's done like color reduction, like wood block printing, where you just kind of you start with one color, one flat color, and then you go back into it and you kind of erase it or take away, which kind of like you can use the stone like a scratch board, which I always find really interesting because it's a lot of different types of mark making. And like that's the beauty also of printmaking. It's like you can do drawing, but you can also do all these different types of processes of like mark making, brush, like using brushwork, all different types of things. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question about lithography, but then yeah, and then I guess with photolithography, it's kind of like it's a similar process, but not quite there yet. Again, I just draw. You could just do straight photo, and it's much more like a mixture of like screen printing and photography, and you have to expose the plate. You have to expose your image on a plate, and then you have to develop the plate and then print it. But it's a much different process, and you're using more toxic chemicals. But I think the experimentation you can do with photolithography is much more extensive than just a stone lithograph or anything like that. So like what I did, I drew. There's more things you can do with photolithograph, because you could draw, you could do photograph, you could do painting, and you kind of just expose it onto a plate. And there's, yeah, so I don't really know. I don't know if that helps.
That's great. That was great. Thank you. I do have a question for Kathleen, and this is from one of the students, Hallie. She actually is my gallery intern as well. And she says, has your artistic process always been the sort of letting go, free destructive and restrictive style, or have you had to learn how to work in nature?
Is it this Kathleen?
Yes.
One of the many synchronicities is that there are two Kathleens at the Chateau, not only two Kathleens. And I said, hey, what's your middle name, Kathleen? And she said, Alan. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. My middle name is Alan as well. Anyway. So the question was, I guess, yes, I think I evolved it in becoming more abstract. I came to becoming an artist in a very roundabout way. I always have loved doing it. And more coincidentally, my friend from first grade who is here found some art by me and sent me some pics on the phone. I did not realize I had been expressive that way as long as I had. So after graduating from college and teaching English in Japan and New York City, I got married, raised a family, put all that aside. Then I was seeking, there was something that really was just about to erupt in me. I didn't know what it was. And I discussed this also with my friend Sandra, who is here. And there she is. And I just kept seeking and talking to people, and I finally got together with a group of women, and we started drawing. First, we drew a pineapple, then we drew flowers, and then my flowers started to get more and more abstract and wavy. And the more that happened, the more right it felt for me. And so I just kept going with that energy and experimenting. And the more that happened, the more real it felt for me, the more real the art and authentic. So I hope that helped answer your question.
Hallie, did you want to ask or extend on that, or did that help?
No, that answered my question really well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Well, I guess we will leave that as it is for today. I really want to thank you both for coming today and being present. And Cecilia says that she has to head out soon. It was great to see you. I admit I was grinning after Kat had a hard time sharing her screen after being at the show and showing me how to use a boomerang on Instagram. I really enjoy your works with the hints of color. Kathleen, I loved your surgery pieces and heart. So thanks, Cecilia. It was great to have you here. Cecilia presented on Tuesday. She was another one of the artists at the residency. So I'm very grateful for the both of you for being here today and sharing your work.
Thanks for having us.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to my friends who are attending. I have some from the art community, the art community that decided to stop in, and they're just another inspiration for me. It's just another circulation of energy that goes around like we had at the Chateau. So you guys are appreciated.
That's great. Thank you all for being here. We will have, as I said earlier, we're recording this, and so we will have that recording available on the website once we get that accessible. So thank you all for being here today. I love seeing you and all of your faces, and I will talk to everybody soon. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everybody. If I can leave.